Tradition never dies. This is your radio, Cayman.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thank you for joining us here on this Thursday edition of Talk Today. We will have the Honourable Deputy Leader of the Opposition, MLA Avis Suku, as our guest. It's going to be a super open line until then, though, so please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be part of our discussion. Hey, it's Thursday and we're going to have the Honourable Deputy Leader of the Opposition, MLA Avis Suku, as our guest. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can join us if you want to call toll free or not. Either one gives you an option into the studio. If you choose, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. You can also send us an email, talktoday@candw.ky. Number of interesting things you've seen. Some has proposed legislation for the upcoming sitting of the Legislative Assembly. Some affecting the way we pay stamp duty on our properties. Hoping that maybe have that conversation with members of our Legislative Assembly. Others in relation to the government looking at some new initiatives. What I must share though, rather interesting, the number of comments. Expecting perhaps a bit more, but hey, maybe it's a start. Of the number of people who shared their views following the announcement that our government is looking actively at engaging the UK in relation to having some, as some have shared, some greater autonomy with respect to how the governor is appointed here in our country. Now, some have speculated, well, is this a move, very subtly, but certainly deliberately, to not just more autonomy, but greater independence, and perhaps, eventually, to an independent state. Others have shared, well, wait a minute, now is this something that they have on the slide, and only those close to the fold maybe know more about, and is this something that we should be looking at? Now, one lady said, when we were doing our constitution, in 2009, and all the negotiations and discussions prior to that, why didn't we consider creating more autonomy? Is it, as she shared, that we're so selfish and self-serving that we are afraid that somebody's going to beat us to the punch, so we don't want to do that now because he might get it before me? And she thinks we're creating sometimes these positions and impediments because we're not looking at the greater good and the long-term viability of the country, but instead we're trying to figure out who's going to be there first, or to make sure that it isn't this one over that one. Now, her view is that these little changes seemingly are piecemeal, and almost, if she was, so inclined, almost wanted to appear as if they were inconsequential and not even orchestrated or structured or intended to be deliberate. But why don't we just come in and say, hey, the whole Constitution needs to be reviewed, and we need to create a better environment for not only our elected members to function, but equally, the electorate and the populace as a whole. As we welcome to our studio, some of you will get a chance to see him, waltz across the stage, as if he was, modeling for one of those big magazines, MLA and Deputy Opposition Leader, Mr. Avis Suku. I do apologize for the rain out there, sir. It may have been a little bit of a drizzle, and it will wet you somewhat.
I just wanted to get here on time, but I was asking the rain if I was late, but I thought the rain would hold me up. But
no, we let it help.
Yeah, you held it up a little bit. It
Just
doesn't get too wet.
Yeah.
But just to say good afternoon, it's good to be on, and it's been a little while since you and I have had the pleasure, but it's always my pleasure to be here, and hopefully we'll get some good calls and some good conversation going.
If you were brothers, I would say, boy, you don't love it no more, man. You've been avoiding me, man.
Treating you bad, man. Treating you bad, but
only family.
All for a good reason.
That's what it is.
Keeping very busy.
That's what it is, huh?
And well, I guess you heard about the opposition road show. Really, we had meetings pretty much in every district, and in support of the referendum process that's ongoing, the petition. So we've been keeping busy, and on top of that, we have our legislative work to do, our constituency work to do. So all those things take time away from you. And as much as I like to sit on the radio sometimes, get on the radio and talk about these things, it's you have to get out there and get in the trenches.
That's the thing, it's a changing environment, and I think it fascinates me from both the academic as well as the practical. As you talk to people, as you get older, hopefully wiser, more experience, gain a little bit expertise, you start to appreciate what unfolds within our society. And I honestly believe that as a people, for the most part, we enjoy talking about politics, about politicians and their antics as well.
Oh yeah,
about politics. And our populace is very, very informed. There are a number of callers, but two in particular, who share their thoughts. And as we listen to them, we understand that not only are they very informed about what is happening here, they also have an exposure and a knowledge of what is happening globally, especially as it relates to us.
Yeah.
There's even a young man that works at one of the supermarkets that I enjoy chatting with, and every time I feel, and when I go there, I'm rushed because I'm only there for a short time to do something for somebody, but he has an insight and a knowledge, and I know many of us have engaged him in the past. And I say that to share that if we continue to embrace our people and to appreciate what they know, we'll not only learn, but we'll improve.
Yeah, we will.
So I appreciate you sharing. Maybe we'll get into some of the political discussions relative to potential constitutional reform. We see that the government has made a proposal. It's now public. There are many who had sort of pinched and say, there are certain things that are being talked about in certain quarters. When I asked someone some time ago, they said, I don't know why you're smoking, but don't share it. There's no way that the government is going to be doing this. And that was not yesterday, but seemingly yesterday it's become sort of official.
Well, there's been a lot of sort of backroom discussion, I think, on the way forward, especially with regard to beneficial ownership. I haven't had the opportunity yet to sit down with my opposition members and my colleagues to discuss this, the recent developments. However, we plan to do that Tuesday morning. And I think then we will put forward our position. I think we should. I don't want to speak out of turn yet because we haven't sat down as a group and discussed it. But,
understandable.
But yeah, from a very high level, we can discuss those things. But going back to what you were saying earlier, it is becoming very clear to me that the public is paying attention. Even those who didn't in the past are now paying more attention to what is going on politically in the country. And what encourages me is the level of engagement from the younger people in society who are becoming more involved now and realizing that they do have a say and that they are a part of this process. What disappoints me is that we still have a lot of young Caymanians who are of voting age that haven't registered to vote for various reasons. Some are disillusioned and said it doesn't make any difference. Yeah. Some say that they don't want to be on that jury duty roster. So we need to look at all those things to understand why I think the younger members of our society are not that encouraged and that engaged, and to find ways to address that. I've always had, I guess because, I don't know why, but they think I'm one of the younger members.
I won't say anything publicly.
But I started off that way. I don't look that way today. But no, I think I've always had the youth at heart, and they've sensed that in my engagements, in my debates, in my motions that I've brought. And I continue to do that because I believe that, we have to protect our future and look out for our future. So I'm trying to think of ways to encourage the young people to become more confident and in the system, because they've seen a lot of the negatives. They haven't seen, I think, as many positives as they'd like to see with regard to their situations. But the only way to change it is to be involved in the process. We can't always sit back and say that it doesn't work or throw our hands up and give up. I know a lot of people are doing that. Quite recently, I posted something on Facebook just saying that, I was becoming alarmed at the number of young people who are telling me that they're thinking about leaving the Cayman Islands and finding their fortune elsewhere. And I said, why? Why is it that feeling is starting to permeate and people is becoming widespread? And the feedback that I got, it was mind-blowing, because it was so many people sent back responses. At that point, it hit me that, there are a lot of unhappy people in this country, despite, and I won't come here to just criticize the government. The government has done some good things. We've seen some positive developments. But in the face of that, we're also seeing some negatives. We talk about GDP growing, and at the same time, cost of living increasing. So at the end of the day, they negate each other. We have to find ways to.
But this is, certainly love to get your perspective, both from what the public's feedback, but also your own. And that whole notion that Caymanians and young, qualified, ambitious, upwardly mobile Caymanians saying, I don't seem to have a future in my country. Not only becoming despondent, they're feeling disenfranchised.
Yeah.
One young lady, I had an interesting conversation with her and I think, I don't believe I would be able to sort of return and share some of the things. She relayed that we seem to be focused on talking about the underemployment, not just the unemployment, but the underemployment of those on a work permit. But in the same token, seemingly less concerned or not concerned about the unemployment of Caymanians. Now, the underemployment, she says, of people should be a concern. But if you have someone on a work permit, this is her premise, who, let's say, has a PhD, right, has come here and said, I'll take a job as whatever for $3 an hour. You say, well, that person could be making $3 million for the year. So you're underemployed. But a Caymanian who goes into a workplace and says, listen, I have a PhD, your job is X, $3. I'm unemployed. $3 is better than nothing. I'm going to take it. Oh, you're overqualified.
Yeah.
How do you justify that too?
But you can't. And you see, those are some of the issues that we need to address, because when you have a Caymanian who is overqualified for a position but will accept that position because they need to pay bills, they need to feed their family, can you really accept that an employer, a potential employer, is going to say, well, you're overemployed, and I'll be taking a risk now hiring you because you're going to be looking for a better opportunity. We're all looking for a better opportunity, no matter what situation we're in. We're always looking to move up and to do better for ourselves. So that argument just doesn't hold water with me. But it
seems to be something that is accepted.
It has become accepted. It's happened to me personally. See, this is why I get passionate about these things, because I think the country now knows. Before I got elected in 2013, I spent 3 years unemployed with a master's degree in business. I went to countless I applied for countless jobs. I only ended up getting 2 or 3 real interviews. And one of those, a panel walked into the room, looked at me, looked at my resume, and said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "What do you mean? I'm applying for this position. I'm here to interview. This is beneath you. You would be bored. You're overqualified for this." And I'm saying, well, yes, however, I need to pay bills. I need to take care of my children. And I need a job. And I could not get a job. And what was being used against me at that point was that I was too qualified.
Yeah. At that point, had you contested any seat, so it's up to 2013, had you contested any seat for an election at that point?
No.
Okay. The reason why I ask that, right, I mean, yes, sometimes don't ask a question unless you know the answer, right? People in that position who've had a taste of politics sometimes don't always, unless they run favor with whoever's in power at that point, have that issue. But other Caymanians, not just those who, like you then, had an experience, had qualifications, had a skill set, now looking for a job, for whatever reason can't find one.
Mm-hmm.
There are those who are out of school, college, university, high school, what have you, graduate degree or otherwise, and can't find a job.
Yeah, and that astounds me because we brag about being supportive of educating our people and empowering them, and then when they go out and do that, and they come back home, and they call it this expectation. It's not an expectation, entitlement. Sorry, it's not an entitlement. If I went out and earned my stripes and got qualified to come back and demand something, then you should give it to me. I'm not asking you for a favor or a handout. I'm asking you for an opportunity. But yeah, a lot of our young people are coming back with qualifications now and cannot get employment. And that's in the face of all these work permits that we grant every year. Yeah.
Something that I think as people listen, hopefully we don't say it improperly. We're trying to talk about inclusion and making sure we all be a part of this, but recognizing that there has to be mutual respect.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a good friend. He says if he could choose to be born in a country, it would be Cayman because he just loves the place.
Mm-hmm.
But for, I guess, his own patriotic approach, he's not going to swear against his flag to take up Cayman status. No.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he's the kind of person that would be great in any country, in any society, but that's his nature. So he's here, then he's not here, and then he's here, and then so on. But he shared that there are people that he engaged with who are on a work permit, working for employer A, maybe part of the day, part of the week, and then employer B. And in one case, he says he knows someone who has 3 different jobs on a work permit. And there's a Caymanian, as he puts it, a Caymanian lad, right, that looking for a job, could do any or all of those 3 jobs, but can't find work.
Yeah.
And has been knocking on doors and, making things.
Yeah. But you know what? Part of it is that we have allowed people to put us in a pigeonhole and say, and I hate when I hear people saying this. It really gets to me because Caymanians are lazy. Caymanians don't want to work. Caymanians don't want to work for that money. Caymanians don't want to have to struggle or we want it all handed to us. So they've generalized us now into that category, and it permeates because and I hear Caymanians saying it, and the more you say it, the more people believe it. By repetition. That politicians know the secret. You say something 10 times, people are gonna believe it. So you keep saying it over and over and over, and eventually people start to believe it. And of course, when our own Caymanians are doing that, and listen, I'm not making excuses for anyone. We have some Caymanians who need to pull their pants up, pull up their boots, and do better.
Yep.
Right? I'll be the first one to say that. There are those out there who, especially with me being in the political arena, see your representative as merely someone that you can get things from. They don't see it as someone who can help you have a better life. My goal when I leave politics is to be able to look back and say, yes, overall, I left the Cayman Islands better than I found it.
At least you tried. Right?
Or at least I tried.
Yeah.
That is my objective, to make this country better.
All right.
I sound like Donald Trump, no, make Cayman great again, but I won't go that far. Cayman is great.
Well,
right?
it's going to be...
But we have to keep it that way. And, there are Caymanians that have to do better, but there are many out there who can't do better because of the circumstances they're in. And when your representatives become unsympathetic to that and almost numb to that reality, that's when we run into problems. And, I use not that I was going there directly, but the whole cruise berthing controversy now, and why we should build piers and berthings and have mega ships and bring in an extra 500,000 people here a year. That's all great. But where is the plan to make sure that Caymanians benefit from all that? What I'm seeing is that there are some special interests who are jumping on board with that project and that initiative out of their own self-interest and using Caymanians as the excuse, well, you're going to get jobs, you're going to make money. But no one can show me that list of jobs. I heard there was about 1,000 new jobs identified. And I've heard someone asked the minister to produce that list of jobs. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's been produced. But when you go out and make these claims that all you're doing is for the betterment of Caymanians, then be able to stand behind it with facts. Look at the eastern districts. We're talking about dumping an extra 500,000 people in this country on an annual basis, coming off cruise ships. What's the plan for the eastern districts? How is Borden Town going to benefit from that? Where are the incentives? The same way we give the developers that come here to build hotels or whatever, concessions and incentives to come and build. Why aren't we doing that for our own people? Right. How many Caymanian developers get concessions? Yeah.
Well, let's pause and take a break. Mr. Saku, when we come back, let's continue the discussion. Obviously, get into other areas as you so choose. Maybe even have a preview of what is expected in the upcoming sitting of the Legislative Assembly. Yeah. We're speaking to the Deputy Opposition Leader, MLA Alva Saku. Phone lines are open. You can call and share your thoughts, so you can tune in, learn, listen, laugh, and who knows, catch us out. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit britk.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
CUC advises motorists that in an effort to alert approaching drivers of speed restrictions when entering an area of road where CUC vehicles and personnel are present, the company will be deploying rumble strips. These rumble strips are a series of raised transverse rubber strips laid across the road which changes the noise a vehicle's tires make on the surface and so warning drivers of speed restrictions. On approaching CUC's work zones, motorists will observe bright orange road signs signifying rumble strips ahead. Before entering these work zones, motorists will encounter the rumble strips that are encouraged to drive with extreme caution at slow speeds until they are well clear of the work zones. These rumble strips are essential to safeguarding against potential danger to CUC personnel. If you have any questions regarding the use of rumble strips, please contact our customer service team at 949-5200 or via email at service@cuc.ky.
Caymankind is the Cayman experience.
We work at the Cayman Craft Market.
It is a myth that we do not need the cruise ship industry.
It is a fact that when there are no ships in port, we do not earn a living. We depend on the cruise industry, and if it was to reduce by half, many others just like us would suffer immensely. We want to work and provide for our families.
We need the pier.
Support the piers. Support our tourism.
Tune in Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Exclusive. Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio, featuring Will Sinatra. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, and soca.
The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of Fitness Plus and Train with Dre.
Get top-rated personal training or build your very own home or office gym today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us in the studio. Deputy Opposition Leader, Mr. Alva Saku, is our guest. And the phone lines are open if you want to call and share your thoughts. Hey, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. I think you've got a WhatsApp that also works, 925-3261. Either way, Mr. Saku, they can call and they can share as they so choose. But as we continue, anything else you want to share with us as I look at some of the comments here? But don't want to put you off too much, and I want to look at the time and recognize that in short order, it'll be Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's coming up soon, right? This year has really flown. But just overall, that the main focus lately has been on the petition, trying to get signatures. I am no longer suspended for now. We'll see what happens when we get back. But I've been focused on that and, focused on a lot of constituency work. We did manage to get some road work done in Newlands, repairs and so on. I am still very disappointed, though. that this current budget, didn't contain any capital money for development projects in the district. So, it still seems like the eastern districts are... I don't know why it worked out that way. I don't want to make accusations without knowing. But it just seems odd that the districts where the ruling party didn't get any seats are the districts where there's the least amount of capital investment. But I am told, I've been fighting since 2013 to have the Church of God building completed as a hurricane shelter. And Minister Hugh has confirmed in the LA that his goal is to have that ready for the start of next hurricane season. So I want to thank him publicly for that, for pushing that forward. And I understand Minister Seymour was instrumental in that as well. So I want to give them credit where it's due. I think we've all been pushing for that in the eastern districts. And, when you think about the situation we're in, we've been lucky so far this hurricane season. Very lucky because we had some very narrow misses. But the fact that Borden Town doesn't have any shelters that can withstand anything beyond a Cat 3 is a real worry for me, a real concern. So I'm glad that is happening. They're now negotiating and talking with the owner of the property and so on to see how we can move forward and get it done. So, which
was the initial intent when that first tranche of funds were given out years ago?
That was the intention.
I think they were one of the institutions that receive upwards of $1 million and thereabouts, right?
Mm-hmm. So, and the building is sitting there half finished. So, what's the point? Let's just try to get it done. Mm-hmm. And that building is not only going to double as a hurricane shelter, but it can be a community center. Mm. If you look at especially Borden Town, our primary schools, when they have graduation now, they have to go to different locations. They can't do anything at the school because they've run out of space. Mm-hmm. And we go to different churches and so on to have these ceremonies. We can do those at that building. Mm-hmm. It's a community center as well. So that is a positive development. I'm glad to hear that.
No, it works in interest.
Yeah.
Mr. Saku, we have a caller online, sir.
Sure, that's
in
why
the
I'm
studio.
Here.
Deputy Opposition Leader Alva Saku. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Saku.
Good afternoon,
Ma'am.
I'm calling from Cayman Brac, and I'm just putting in my 2 cents worth of the cruise berthing facility. Mm-hmm. I've been on cruise ships before, and I've actually been on a cruise ship that took the tender into Grand Cayman. And I'm not for, I'm not against, I'm just letting you know my experiences. That everybody enjoyed their time on the tenders. They had no problem going back and forth by ship on tender. And there are other countries, including Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, even Sydney, Australia, different places that don't have berthing facilities, or if they do, they have to take the ship out and put another one in. So I'm just letting you know that people did enjoy their tender experience, and if that helps any, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. My argument all along has been what made us great, what made us special, has been the fact that Cayman was not overdeveloped. We're not overcrowded. We have celebrities that can come here and walk around in public without fear of anyone attacking them or trying to rob them. We were safe. We were not a South Beach or a Cancun. We were unique in the fact that we were quiet, peaceful, and not this bustling sort of metropolis that other locations offer. People weren't being harassed by vendors, and they could just walk around and buy souvenirs if they wanted. We were quaint,
safe,
and safe.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And what I see developing now is a push away from that. It is, we're going to go into this mass tourism model where we're going to bring millions of tourists here, hoping that they spend and we can all make money. But what I think we're doing in the way we're approaching this is actually threatening what we've built, the foundation of what we've built. And, I have to question, if something is working and it's good for us, why try and change it?
So who's pushing this?
And who's pushing it? Because the majority of people I speak to understand that we don't want to be like every other jurisdiction. We want to be unique. And my argument has been, okay, I have very serious concerns about the environmental dangers of doing this, the dredging and so forth. the silt, the destruction of the reef and the fish habitats, and no one can convince me now that there's nothing out there, because there is. I've seen it.
I'll share with you, if you allow me. There's a frequent visitor, once, twice a year, maybe even more sometimes, but at least once, sometimes more than twice. And the first time we met, some years back, and he probably fits the profile of that visitor that we talk about, that particular income bracket, that particular appeal and market that we seem to cater to. And our first encounter was, what is it about Cayman that you liked? We're sitting on the public beach. Now, I still call it the West Bay Public Beach. Seems that we adopted a different name for it. I don't know if that's been officially changed or not, but like everything else seems to have a different name these days. I guess when it's good as 7 Mile, when it's bad as West Bay. He was sitting there. He said, look, 2 children playing. No concern. The water is clean, clear, safe. What's in the water, what's on the land. No issues.
Yeah.
And for a few days, he had a peace of mind. And he could go anywhere else. He appreciated that. Maybe many of us recognize it but take it for granted. In the subsequent years, as he returns, he keeps saying, you're changing and not for the best. That public beach now is still, relatively speaking, not as crowded as other places, but isn't that clean, safe, nice, accommodating, welcoming place that it was not that long ago. Now, if we're developing and we're not benefiting, if we're developing and it's not what presumably our visitors are sort of asking for, are sort of desiring, then is something wrong there?
Yeah, and then you have to wonder, well, who are we doing all this for? Because going back to my argument just now, what's wrong with Cayman becoming an eco-tourism destination, right? Where we refuse to dredge up our harbor, we refuse to destroy the natural environment. Because remember now, back in the 80s and the 70s when people started coming here in mass, they were coming to dive, they were coming to enjoy the natural environment. They were coming to enjoy the clean air, the clean water, the pristine water. Why are we going to do something that could threaten that now? And again, we keep hearing, the silt, the sediment, all that stuff, sedimentation isn't going to be in effect. Show me one dredging project where that hasn't happened. Show me one.
We've seen the presentation of Courtney Platt. Many probably know him because he's a photographer. What is encouraging is that he has said, I've been here, this is my home. I bring this expertise, this experience in particular, and this is my perspective. Now, I commend anybody who is willing to sort of say, well, this is why I think you can challenge me on it, but here's what I have, do you ask me equally to refute? And when I was speaking with him the other day, the passion, the emotion, he came to tears. He
comes to tears because he is so emotional over this. And Courtney is just one of many. When you I can't find one of the older Caymanian seamen who went to sea. A lot of them became captains, or I won't even try to name all the different levels that they've attained. I sit close to one in the LA, Mr. Arden McLean. And when
you say older and Mr. Arden, be careful.
Older, not old.
Hey, listen. I know you all are friends. I'm just trying to warn you.
Listen, he doesn't have any hesitation in correcting me when he feels I need to be corrected, right?
Just
so
checking,
he'll tell you straight. But when you listen to those guys, they have very good ideas. They have very good suggestions. But it's almost like we just wrote them off the list and said, no, you don't have anything to contribute to this. We're going to go with these consultants that we hired, and then the consultants, what they produce contradicts what someone else produces, or their own, sometimes their own reports. There's so many contradictions. And the one thing that jumped out at me recently was in reading the National Tourism Plan. There's a paragraph in there that says that the dangers or that there's a danger of overcrowding, and there's already complaints of overcrowding of beaches and natural, attractions, and that is counter to stay over tourism, which we all know stay-over tourism provides the most revenue, the most money.
Mr. Suku, you started out earlier by saying this petition by the people for a referendum. I've had a number of people ask me a question, and very deliberate I said to them, well, why are you asking me? My view, my answer is, but many have said, the reason that they want this thing to happen is twofold, right? Many answers, but I think two have surfaced as being from my feedback. One, they want to be a part of this democratic process. It's an issue that is a national issue. It's going to be over many political administrations, and potentially for generations to come, it's going to affect us, our country, our economy, and our ecology, the environment, and the like. And then the second is that they said, even if they are for a port or a port in the Georgetown Harbor, these are people who are saying, well, I'm not sure I know exactly what is happening. Okay, the government has admitted and said this, we don't have a final design. So no final design, we're not sure what the final cost will be. But it's beyond that many people have shared. The question that has been asked is, well, if the government is seeing, we heard the Honorable Tourism Minister say 6 months, that was about a month ago, that we're going to put this thing to bed and we're going to move on. The people, is this going to be just a moot point?
Well, no, it can't be, because our Constitution provides for referendum. Okay, there's that process that is given to the people of the country that ever so often they can take back a little of that delegated responsibility they've given us as representatives and say, no, I don't want you to make this decision for me. I want to make it myself. So I'll go out and vote on this. Thank you very much. The people have that right. It's a right in the Constitution. So if the government pushes ahead and accelerates this decision in the face of what they see as the looming threat of a referendum, they're going to pay a heavy political price. In politics, in constitutional politics, when sometimes you do things by convention rather than by statute, by law.
Okay.
When you operate, and especially in Parliament, we operate a lot by convention, right? This, I think, would be an unwritten convention that they would be violate, is that you are going to take action to prevent the people who put you in office from having a say. And when you do that, the people are going to rebel. They're going to come. You're going to have to face them the next election.
Okay, respectfully,
so I don't think they're willing to take that chance.
Only asking you as a parliamentarian, right? Trying to understand the process and maybe be able to be in a position to engage in further dialogue with others, even provide an answer. By no means exhaustive, nor pretending to have what was accused of one time, have all the blueprint on intelligence. Won't go there. Go on the premise that the government decides to move forward with this. They get a bid, they sign a contract, they start digging, whatever it is that they do. So they start to materially do this thing. The public is still looking to gain signatures for a referendum. Perhaps they are at a threshold. But the government says, you know what, we're going to go ahead. At that point, isn't it too late? Yeah, there may have been a victory because you've triggered a referendum, but they've already started
got shovels in the ground or whatever it is, dredges in the sea.
Or they signed a contract that is binding, and now to get out of that, it's going to cost billions or whatever it is.
Yeah, and that's a possibility. Like I said, I don't think the political animals that we are, any of us would be willing to take that chance unless you're planning not to be around next term. Even those who are in support of cruise berthing will see that as a direct violation of the rights of the people.
Fair enough.
And that alone is a big risk you're taking if you're a member of the government.
But let's take two things, right? Egos and economics. Right? Some people will do something because their heads are too big, they can't listen to reason, right? Not just talking about politicians or business people, just general, right? Or there's this dangling card of a big windfall, lots of money, and they're going to go ahead to get this thing because it's going to look good for them, and they can say I did it, or they're going to look good in their pocketbook because there's this sum, whatever that sum is. And I don't have to be around next time because out of sight, hopefully out of mind. I'm not going to be here to deal with it. Adios, amigo.
Yeah.
Then what?
Then we have a serious problem. I don't think that any member of the opposition that I am a member of is going to just sit back and let that sort of stuff happen.
But you know about that. I mean, the contract is signed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a press release after the fact.
Well, there's judicial review and there's lots of other things that can happen. Okay. So, there's legal remedies.
All right.
And I think we'd be willing to take it that far because I think we're at the point now that enough people have come out and said, we don't know enough about this project, we don't know where we're going, we don't know what the risks are. Let's have a referendum on it.
The reason why I asked you, sir, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to ask of you because I think, as you shared, you're seen as one of the younger, not just parliamentarians, but you're in the boxing gym. You're, I mean, from what I understand from Mr. McLean, he calls you up for fashion advice, right? No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
That's Mr. Bryan's job. Kenneth used to model, you know that.
Man, don't remind me. He decided he was going to, work a little harder, So modeling was just a bit much. But with that in mind, a particular small group of individuals who are very, very, very staunch supporters and proponents of this government. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. And despite that, they still include me into their conversation sometimes.
Yeah.
Two in particular, not opposed to the port, just got some reservations. And they've asked questions, and I've tried to understand the thought process. Their reservation is that, maybe the location is good, maybe it's not good. We're not sure. But we're not sure exactly where we are. So they themselves. I don't think I'm betraying their confidences or their trust because I've heard them say it's similar in other quarters. But these are people who are going to, defend the government almost at any cost. When asked, the referendum question is, do you support the port or not? What would they do, yes or no? One would say, I would like to put yes, but they have a caveat to say, but not with this, this, and this. Because to put no, that would mean that they wouldn't want the government to move forward with it, which they do. And it begs the question, and that referendum question, the way it's worded, could impact people's decision as to how they're going to say yes or no.
And again, and it would be up to the government to define that question, right?
Right.
But again, there's honor in politics. There's supposed to be, and if the government if you were to get enough signatures and trigger a referendum, and then the government come out with some question that's completely absurd, again, you are trespassing on the rights of the voters.
Let's expand on that, sir. But let's take this caller.
Let's take the call.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Who's on with you?
It is Mr. Alvis Saku, the Deputy Opposition Leader.
Oh, okay, my friend. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, how are you?
Yeah, man. Good, man. Yeah, I want to call in because I sit down sometimes and I think about the amount of money that was spent on studies and EIAs and this, that, the other thing that we've done since, I think it was 1988, when my friend Tom Jefferson was Minister for Tourism and was talking with the stock. And I remember having the first meeting down at the Marriott Hotel. And at that time, all the old heads that were around at that time, the seamen and the captains and all that stuff, everybody was saying, don't do it because the day you dig anything out there or do any kind of dredging in there, goodbye 7 Mile Beach. And then we really will lose tourism. But the point I want to make this morning is, gentlemen, that one of the things that we have to have in place in government is a body of people from, can be from different districts and all that, but they have to have people, accountants and all that kind of thing in it, that makes the decision as to whether we go ahead with any project. Because I remember when other people protested about the $50 million for schools. Here we are today. We still haven't got the Tree High School. We thought we'd be sitting in the ground down there with a bunch of mud. That's all it is. We got other projects that we started off, even in Southtown. I see they got the boardwalk that was costing $1.3 million, which is outrageous. but that hasn't been finished. Now, we got people who are responsible for all this stuff, but nobody is accountable. Therefore, I say, if politicians who have portfolios can go out and decide to do this and that with the people's money, and when it doesn't work, they have no responsibility, no accountability. We must have a body in place, like in the United States, for instance, they have the Army Corps of Engineers, major projects, airports, river, any kind of dredging, any kind of big things that the government does. They do the research. They tell you if it's a feasible thing, how much it's going to cost, and then it makes a decision for the whole house to decide whether they're going to do it one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any kind of thing like that. And this is why we waste so much money on just the studies and the EIAs and stuff that we do for everything that we're going to do. And they cost millions and millions and millions of dollars, and nobody is accountable. Gentlemen, I just want to say this. I love this country, and God knows I do. But I can't forgive. I don't know what to say when I see the wastage of millions and millions of dollars that nothing is done with it. When we got poor people living in this island who can't find breakfast for their children, who can't afford to pay rent, and we pay $6 an hour to these people, while the politicians are making $17,000, $18,000 a month. I pray to God every single day of my life that something is going to bring us back to our senses. I never forget Iowa. The same thing was happening. There was building. Everybody was going crazy with this stuff. And I just saw it. The stock market dropped twice now, recently. And they're talking about what's going to happen within the next few months. The building boom in the United States is gone. And when they sneeze, we get a cold, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Well,
we better listen, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Thank you too, sir.
Thank you for your call.
All right. And Mr. Suku, respectfully, after our news break, no results radio up and running, let's continue our discussion and appreciate you weighing in with us, sir.
Sure.
To our listeners, join us after the news.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Police are granting special licenses for DOE-registered colors, and they are providing some guidance for colors who've been registered and approved by the Department of Environment if they plan to use air rifles to do the job. They can be granted special licenses, allowing them to use an air rifle to cull iguana within 40 yards of a public road. There are some rules. Only air rifles can be .22 or .25 caliber, and they must apply for a special license even if they already have a firearms license. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Retail billionaire Sir Philip Green has been named in Parliament as the businessman accused by a newspaper of sexual harassment. Peter Hain, who identified him in the Lords, said it was his duty to name him given the serious and repeated nature of the allegations. On Tuesday, The Telegraph ran an article accusing a leading businessman of racial and sexual abuse of staff. At least 8 students have been killed and 16 more are missing after flash floods swept away their bus near the Dead Sea in Jordan. The bus had been carrying 37 students and 7 members of staff to the Zarameen Hot Springs area when it was washed away. Rescue teams have so far found at least 11 people. Some of them have said to be in serious condition. And Defense Secretary James Mattis is expected to deploy around 800 troops to the U.S.-Mexico border to stop a migrant caravan. The soldiers would assist with fencing and support at key points along the southern border. The caravan of thousands of Central American migrants is making its way towards the U.S. through Mexico. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Okay, settle down. There's someone I want to thank. This guy knows how to get the most out of every fill-up. This guy had the common sense to drive into Esso so I could get back on the road. $5,000 richer. Thanks to me. Thank you so much, me. Thank you. Yes.
Spend $25 at any Esso service station and get a chance to win in weekly draws for $5,000 cash. Every week for 5 weeks, we'll be choosing a winner. You can also get a chance to win free fuel and prizes at our weekly Spin and Win events. That's $30,000 in cash and prizes to be won. Drive into an Esso station today. You'll thank yourself. The Esso brand is a trademark of Exxon Mobil Corporation and is used under license.
Brand Source Home Gallery is celebrating 48 years serving Cayman with a 20% store-wide anniversary sale. Get 20% off everything for 2 days only, Friday and Saturday, October 26th and 27th. Choose from Cayman's largest range of kitchen and laundry appliances. Browse the huge mattress selection and save 40% off. Check out the Design Center and save 20% on your custom designed kitchen, bathrooms, or closets. And browse the beautiful bath showroom for the most elegant and innovative bath products in Cayman. The Brand Source 20% off store-wide anniversary sale is Friday and Saturday, the 26th and 27th. Open until 6 p.m. both days. So hurry in now to Brand Source Home Gallery in Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
Stay tuned.
Don't forget to tune in Monday through Friday for Radio Cayman's local evening sports report during the 6 p.m. news hour.
Taking a look at Radio Cayman's local sports, I'm Dion Anglin.
It is proudly brought to you by King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
Cruise tourism is a vital part of Cayman's economy. It is the government's responsibility to create an environment where our people can have an opportunity to grow and prosper today, tomorrow, and into the future. It is a myth that Cayman does not need cruise tourism. It is a fact that cruise passengers spend $200 million per year buying services from small businesses, tour operators, attractions, restaurants, and retail shops. Those funds stay right here, supporting our economy and communities. Support the pairs. Support our tourism.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. In the studio, the Deputy Opposition Leader, Mr. Alva Suku. Mr. Suku, as a member of the Legislative Assembly, as you shared, there's much on your plate. Like your colleagues in the House, every day, not just Monday through Friday and the like. So, perhaps as we understand it. But there were a number of things that were shared. We certainly want to come back to at some point and ask you about the suspension because only from the perspective of constitutional and political sort of discourse. But the thoughts of the caller prior, some of the other things earlier, if you wish and as you wish. This port issue, huge issue. Is it because of the potential economic as well as environmental impact?
I think so. I think most of the people who are now concerned are voicing those concerns in the arena of environmental impact and risk to the natural environment. That is what we built our tourism product on. So, anything that could threaten that, we can't just take it for face value, and we can't just take someone's word that it'll be okay. You have to demonstrate to us that it is going to be okay. And I haven't been convinced of that up until now. And they'll say that I'm being a hypocrite because I supported the project. I still support the idea of piers. However, I don't think we need 2-3 mega ships in here on a given day. I think if we accommodate for one, but I think if we do what Mr. Ard McLean suggested, don't dredge, use pylons, take it out further, and he can get more technical than me and all that. But what shocked me was that there was a design put forward early in the game that pretty much was what he was suggesting, and that was rejected. They went for the riskiest one. Why? I just don't get it. It's so self-defeating to do it that way. But and then you hear about these organizations coming forward. Now, CETA has not, and if I was the minister, and I'm not slighting Minister Colonel anyway, but if I was the minister, if I didn't have the full 100% backing of CETA, who is our partner in tourism, right? That represents all those businesses that employ Caymanians and make a living off of tourism. If I didn't have 100% backing of CETA, I wasn't going forward with this project. They have not been able to convince their membership that this is a good thing. And that is a real concern for this project. If you can't convince your primary partners in this how they're going to benefit, then, you need to take a step back and say, well, hold on. And I know that in politics, you don't want to admit you were wrong because you may lose support politically. But I think in politics, sometimes you got to be the bigger man. And you have to be willing to admit that you were wrong or you took a wrong turn. And not just admit that, but correct it. If the government were to come now to all these groups who are showing interest in this, the opposition, the referendum, everybody, and say, okay, put the brakes on a little bit. Let's sit down and discuss this and see how we can compromise our way out of this. Let's see what we have to do to make you all happy, but to accomplish our agenda as well.
Is that part of the problem then, that we have these groups, one that wanted to go this way because of, their vested interests, another group that wanted to go this way because of vested interest. Now I find that somewhere in there there's another subset of people who are, well, we need to do something, we've been talking about it, but we're not sure what to do, but we don't have enough information, and the more that comes out, they, perhaps more confused.
Yeah, or the more information that's revealed, because what we have done, the opposition made it a point that when we have our public meetings, we were going to expose information, and we're not manipulating this information because we didn't produce it. Okay, the information that we produced came from the government's consultants, their consultants' reports, the EIA, the business case, all that. So we took their information and gave it out to the public and said, look, if you didn't read this part of the business case, this is what it says. This is what it means. We did that. And the more we did that, the more people became concerned. And we're reading from the government's own supporting documentation.
Well,
and then you cross-reference that to the tourism plan, and there's so many contradictions in there. It makes your head spin.
That's kind of, what sparked me to share with you the sentiments of the individuals who I see, without question, are very, very strong supporters of the government. And as they started to look at this thing independently, trusting, I believe, well, Joe said this, or, Joe's a good guy, he wouldn't lie. But then, wait a minute, this was also said by John, who is a good guy, who wouldn't lie, they just happen to be on different teams. They started to look at it for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's where we are. We're not willing to step back because that may be seen as weakness and a failure, as opposed to courageous and wise, and saying, wait a minute now, this might be where we need to go. But then the populace, the electorate, and then by the extension, the wider community, because we're all going to be affected by whatever happens, whether it's built or not built, whether it's spent, it costs $1 million or $1 billion. It's going to affect us.
And if you think back to the legal practitioners bill, right, the government was headstrong, going down the road, we're going to pass this bill. And the more they said that, the more the backlash came and the more opposition to it grew. And we took it on and we didn't do that just as a political move. We've recognized that there were issues with that bill. And eventually, the day that they were supposed to debate it, they pulled it. The government doesn't want to suffer that sort of embarrassment again. And I guess what they felt is that we're just going to do this. Hell or high water, we're doing this. And we know what's best for the people. And in the long run, when we get it done, they're going to thank us. I guess that's the mindset. They have to be careful because I don't think any of them sitting in that government caucus can guarantee that end result.
Politically, would not come across as being arrogant and condescending?
To me, it does. And you see, maybe it's how you view your role. I've never been a minister. I've served as an acting minister in the past, but I've never been an actual minister in cabinet. Maybe when you get to that level, there's some some transformation that takes place in your thinking. But I always view my role as servant of the people. And I don't think that my view will ever change. So I'm not going to do anything that the majority are against. And in this case, they could argue, well, we're not sure if the majority is against this, but there's enough opposition out there, and I'm not counting the opposition members, I'm counting public, for me as a minister to say, hold on, I need to think about this.
All right. I think many of us interact with, our friends or visitors or guests who are not Caymanian. They come here often. They maybe have a home here, whether it's a condo or otherwise. They may not, but they may stay in the same complex every time they visit. So over years, perhaps even over generations, we've interacted with them. I don't want to say this to sort of try to influence anybody's opinion, or it's just my experience. We've gone through the summer. We've had a little stint, in this first sort of lead up as we go into the last quarter. So in that short time, those people who have visited have shared their views, relative to our tourism product, the port in particular, with the exception of one individual in one particular family. They were all sort of opposed or seriously questioning whether we should move forward. Now, these are not voters. They probably, with the exception of one again, probably won't have any interaction with any of the politicians. But they just come and go. And they're saying, are you going in the name of other destinations in the Caribbean, follow that and end up like that.
Right.
Sovereign experience, not just the cruise visitor, but that stay-over visitor whom also probably is an investor in the country.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what role these people play in our surveys, whether we respect or seek their views and opinions, but these are just people who come here and they're here for a week or sometimes longer.
Well, I'm going to do something right now that should take away the whole basis of their argument for this berthing. They said that this has to be done because the mega ships are coming, and if we don't prepare for that, we're going to lose so much of our tourism business. It would devastate our economy. Over the next 10 years, there are about 120 ships that are going to be built. A lot of those have been ordered. They haven't started construction yet, but Now, bear in mind, a cruise ship is not like a car, right? You're not gonna sell that, trade it in 5 years, and get a new one. You're gonna keep that in service for many, many years. I don't know exactly how long, but I would dare say it's probably more than 20 years. 120 ships being produced. Of those 120 ships, about 12% are mega ships. Of that 12%, they're not all coming to the Caribbean. They're all most of them are servicing China and Europe. Some of them are coming to the Caribbean, yes, but the majority of ships, the vast majority, are smaller ships, and we've seen some jurisdictions say we're not going to cater to them. We're going to cater to the smaller ships with the wealthier passengers who don't want to go through all that hustle and bustle of being on a ship with 6,000 people, 5,000 people. They want a more scaled down experience, which I would want, to be honest. I don't think I'd want to be on a ship with 5,000 people, But again, and so that takes away the argument that we're going to lose business. Majority of ships that are being produced, more than 80% that are being produced are not mega ships. So they have to go somewhere. They're not going to just take them out of service. And especially they haven't even been built yet and they're in order. So that argument goes away. Then they say that, the passengers on the mega ships spend more money. Well, here's why they spend more money. They're paying for the on-ship experience. So when you go on these mega ships, you can zip line, you can go to a nightclub, you can go to the casino, you can go to loads more restaurants, you can do everything that you ever wanted to do in life on that ship. They're spending the money on the ship. They're not spending it on shore, You know where the increase in spending goes when they come on shore? Jewelry and watches. That's where it increases. So and then they're using the Cayman to say, the taxes are going to benefit the the dive shops, all these other people are going to benefit. But the actual increase in spending by the cruise ship passenger is going to be focused on jewelry and watches. It doesn't say it is focused on taxi and tours and so on. So again, their arguments are just negated by facts that are coming out. And if you look at what's happening in Falmouth, the people in Falmouth are not happy. They were made all kind of promises and false promises because they're not benefiting. I think we need to focus more on the stayover market, which in the grand scheme of things, cruise tourism provides, I don't have my figures here with me, and I don't want anyone to misquote me, but I would, and I'm being very generous when I say this, if you look at the whole pie, how much does cruise tourism put into GDP versus stayover? It's like a 80-20 split, okay? Cruise tourism does not provide that much financial benefit compared to stayover. And we're building something, we say we're going to build something that is going to threaten stayover. All those stayover people, when they go to the beach and it's crowded, packed, they go to these different attractions. They go to swim with dolphins or whatever it is. When they get there and it's teeming with people, you think they're going to come back here? They're going to find somewhere else where they can find that experience that brought them here originally. They're going to go find it. The cruise lines are no threat to us. They can talk all they want, but demand and supply runs the day. If their passengers say to them, we want to go to the Cayman Islands, they have to come here. They can't look at a paying passenger and say no. Someone else will take that slot, and maybe with a smaller ship, but someone else will take the opportunity. So business, it's not all white and black. It's not build it or we're going to lose our tourism product. It's how we approach it and how we go about it.
Mr. Suku, we do have another caller as we go to our phone, sir. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon, my friend. How are you today?
Okay, and good afternoon to MLA, Mr. Suku.
How you doing?
Okay. Well, this cruise ship port, like I said, is something that's needed because of the mega ships that they're making now, and also for the safety of the passengers. And a lot of people are talking about the destruction of the reefs in Georgetown, which is very serious. But what is more serious than that is that after they dredge, the sea surge will be higher. And it will come in further inland. So that new cruise ship port is going to cause some serious destruction in Georgetown. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
I can't say it any plainer than that.
Hey, thanks very much for sharing.
Thanks for the call.
Now, anyway, we have people who are looking at it and they're concerned about the, as I call it, shared potential, consequences to the 7 Mile Beach and other environmental factors. As we go to our phones, hey, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon to Mr. Suku there. Another guest I didn't.
Yeah, it's just Mr. Suku. Good afternoon, ma'am.
You wanna got me today?
I mean, he's a handful.
Oh my God! I think I need more people. I think you come in. The packages are getting too small now, so I think we need to big up the package.
She with all your package, boy. I tell you, that's not good. Okay, ma'am.
Calling about the cruise ship thing. What I have one question to ask the government. They're saying that these mega ships, if you notice, that is mostly Carnival. The rich people are not traveling on Carnival because that's where the children are at. Most of the teenagers are at. The rich people are traveling, and if we are going to attract, we don't want volume, we want quality, because that's what happened to our product now.
Thank you.
Our product is watered down, and it's the Princess Cruise Lines and the other one, the Navigator of the seas, and those big ships that people are coming. The older people not coming on Carnival unless they're traveling with the family. So I don't know what benefits are we going to get for the mega ships besides have a port. Because if northwester comes, as we can see in last week or week before last, when we had bad weather, how many days we couldn't get no ship.
Right.
That would give us a great example that whether we got a mega ship out there or we got a small cruise ship, they're not getting into port, and Mother Nature is going to have its way. And the deeper we dig the water, is the more the tide arrives on us. So I don't know why they want these mega ships. Like I heard, I know she doesn't mind me calling her name, Charlene said. She said, according to the government, we have processed so much. Our budget is so high from cruise tourism now, and we're getting the small ships. That's all we've been getting all these years. So I would say like what she said. We can satisfy with the small ships if we got all the surplus now. Make the big ships go somewhere else. If they don't want to stop in Cayman, then if they can get their customers to say they don't want to come to Cayman, which I don't think is going to happen, because Cayman is one of the safest destinations worldwide. Then the customers that don't want to come to Cayman, put them on the mega ships and carry them where they want to go, because we will survive by the grace of God as long as we use our common sense and do what's right for Cayman. We will be here.
And that's it. And it's not a doomsday scenario, and that's what I'm worried that the government is painting a picture that it's a doomsday scenario, and if you don't do it, it's all is lost. It's not that. There are going to be other ships that come here.
If you're developing 120 ships and you only got 9 mega ships of that, what size ships? What are they being? Cat boats?
Exactly. They're smaller cruise liners. Yeah, luxury.
But they must be making cat boats where they're not going to have no boat on board, because if you were telling me you're making 120 boats more and you only got 9, say 12 maximum to be mega ships, what sizes are they making?
At the very least, that tells me we don't need to rush this.
Well, that's what we just said. So what is the big rush? I
mean, that's the question.
If you're only getting 120 boats and only 12 are going to be mega ships, and if there must see some site that there's going to be more people coming out to cruise, that they're making more ships, but they're not making 120 mega ships.
Exactly.
If they was making 120 mega ships, we could say yes, they can replace the older ones, because the mega ships eventually the smaller ships will be gone.
Right.
But if you're telling me they're only making 12 mega ships, that 12 mega ships can't hold for 120 boats.
Right. And then again, how many mega ships can we accommodate on a day? With the design I'm hearing.
How many mega ships are we going to get?
Yeah, well, exactly. Realistically, we probably get one or two a week.
One a week. I mean, we're doing better now with the smaller ships, because we get ships now. This is beginning of season. We got 5 or 6 small ones in port. It's the same capacity as one in big ones.
Right.
And we got them spread out. So I don't know. But, I guess it's something we all got to think about, because if, as I said, we destroy our environment and the cruise ships are gone after they destroy it, what are we going to do? We can't turn. Once we cut, that's it.
Then we're in crisis. Then we're in a crisis, because then that damage can't be reversed.
You can't reverse something after you do it. That's like everyone is playing a blind eye. If you watch the bridge down on West Bay, nobody wants to believe that, but eventually they're going to cut through that. We can see it, because that's not built for height, for no fun. That's for a purpose. When they cut that, my beach is gone, because you're going to come to north sound leakage coming through there, and we don't know how to put the water that we go on that side now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know why we can't face reality and see it. I mean, what happens is we need to stop living in denial. Like, these are things that are going to go away. It's not going away. It's coming closer to them. And when it comes home to us, it can be too late. So we all need to wake up. And not just a few of us that see it, but it's only a few of us that say anything about it. And we look like the bad ones. But like I told the gentleman, I said, if the older people had stood up for it, we wouldn't be to this day, because they would know that they couldn't infest on us that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now we got stand up now, as the younger generation got stand up, so we look like the bad ones now. So,
well, I tell you what, sometimes you have to do what you know is right, regardless of the backlash and what people label you as, because you know you're doing it for the right reason.
Exactly. And I told them I got grandchildren, so I won't be able to leave something for them behind. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mom. Thank you very much. And Mr. Suku, perhaps I can just share this WhatsApp with you and our listeners. It says, the late James Manoa Borden Sr., and that's our national hero, often spoke of, quote, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Type of tourist shouldn't be Cayman's target tourism market. As our caller was sharing, that we're looking at, what's the market?
And that's the thing. And have we defined that carefully? Have we decided what? Because there are different types of tourist market that we can go after, right? There are different types of classifications of tourists. So which ones are we targeting? Are we targeting all of them? Because that is just ineffective. You have to define your product, define what you're doing, define what you offer, and then market that to a certain group of individuals. You're not going to get everybody. And if you try to please, they say you can't please everybody. Right. So you try to streamline it so that you're very good at your niche. Right. Our niche, I think, in the future, and I may be wrong, but I think our niche could be that we are an eco-friendly location. We don't dredge. We don't do anything to harm our natural environment. We are conservationists. We are into preserving our marine environment. We want to replenish our fish supplies. We want to make sure that the green sea turtles, survive longer than us. We do all those things, and if you appreciate that, then come and share in it. But we're not going to threaten that or damage it for the sake of a few dollars.
Yeah, the old Caymanian way is not whatnot. Yeah. Right? They were very, very conservative. But let's pause, sir. Take a short break. When we come back, we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Welcome to our Esso service station. How can I help you today, ma'am?
$25 in fuel, please.
Sure. I bet I can make you smile, too.
Bet you can't.
Would $5,000 cash make you smile?
Of course. Who wouldn't? But how?
Spend $25 or more in fuel at any of our Esso service stations, and you could be the winner of $5,000 cash. Every week for 5 weeks, one lucky winner will win $5,000 cash. Made you smile, didn't I?
I'm smiling.
Drive into an Esso station today. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Rising Stars Dance Ministry is proud to present the annual Dance for Christ. Saturday, November 17th at the Church of God Chapel Family Life Center. Featuring UCCI dance group Christ Cathedral Mass Choir, JJZ Dancers, Brother Delano, DJ Samar, Skippy Dexterous Brothers, LeBron McLean, Brother Alaska, Center Point Dancers, and Famous Cousins with MC Brother Ricardo and Cheryl T.
Tickets are only $10 pre-sold, $15 at the gate, and children under 12 are only $5.
Dance for Christ is proudly sponsored by Burger King, Domino's, Wendy's, Link International, MLA, Kenneth Bryan, Funky Tanks, and Radio Cayman. This November 17th. Don't miss out on Dance for Christ. Brought to you by the Rising Stars Dance Ministry.
Thousands of Caymanians work in our cruise tourism industry. It is a myth that Cayman does not need cruise tourism. It is a fact that 4,500 Caymanians work in this industry today as taxi and tour operators, boat captains and crew, restaurateurs, retailers, water sports operators, and ambassadors at our attractions. If our cruise tourism industry is half of what it is today, what are we going to do with our people, the thousands of unemployed Caymanians? Support the peers, support our tourism.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
RC Fusion featuring Billboard pop hit songs and more from the 70s to the 90s.
RC Fusion.
Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12. RC Fusion.
Brought to you by Country and Western. No mess, no fuss, just the best in Caymanian cuisine. At a price you can afford.
Country and Western now offering delivery. Call 945-4079.
RC Fusion. RC Fusion.
We are in the hurricane season, and knowing what to do after a hurricane can be as important as preparing for the storm. After the passage of a hurricane, seek medical attention if it is needed at hospitals and clinics for those persons who are injured. Do not touch power lines and cables that are down. They may be active. Report them to 911 or the utilities emergency hotlines. Broken tree limbs should be removed from around homes or buildings if possible. This hurricane information has been brought to you by Breeze FM and Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. And until 2 p.m., we have the wonderful opportunity to continue our dialogue with the Deputy Opposition Leader, Mr. Alva Suku. And I trust, sir, as I say this to all of the parliamentarians, when they come into this studio in particular, whether it's with me or Mr. Hart, or in any of the talk shows, that we should see that as a chance for the public to be able to have access, through this.
Absolutely.
And I have a friend who was involved with sort of this thing in another part of the world, and he said, "Man, what you have here, you don't realize how precious and how special it is."
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's cautioned that we're losing it in many respects, not just because of the gatekeeping and the other issues, but the little things that you probably know better than some. But as a populace, we need to make sure that we safeguard it, don't abuse it, but use it in such a way that is beneficial not just to ourselves but to the country. To be able to call your representative for reference or to come to your wedding or to sit and chat about something, that's
unique about our politics, because you still run into your representative in the supermarket. I do my own shopping, so and that's where I have a lot of my conversations.
You too.
It's funny because I know that if I'm going to the supermarket, my daughter doesn't want to go with me because Dad's going to be talking too much, but it's just part of the job,
She tells you that too?
Oh, yeah. Especially if she's in a hurry. But, that's what makes Cayman so unique, is that, your representatives are accessible.
Yeah.
You can reach out and touch us. I actually was coming back on a flight the other day, and a guy didn't say anything to me on the plane, but when I got off in Cayman and was coming out, he said to me, Mr. Suku, he said, "You're Mr. Suku?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I really like how you travel." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You travel like one of us." I said, "Well, I can't afford to do it any other way," but it's just that it makes you realize that people appreciate that personal connection that you have with people here.
And they know when you're being false, like children. Let's go to our phone, sir. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon. This is Daphne Orad, and hello to you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
And to my good friend, Mr. Saku.
Afternoon, Miss Daphne. How are you?
I'm doing really well. And it's good to be able to speak with you, sir. And on the subject of the birthing facility, you may or may not know that I have maybe once or twice spoken on this subject over the on air, and there are a few things. Now, I had some concerns earlier about the destruction to the marine and the marine environment, the seabed, so on. Right off the top, I do know that in speaking with my grandfather and hearing him in conversation with other people years ago, the one thing that they were saying is that the Georgetown location is the best place for a dock. At that point, there were some people who were saying, the North Sound is big, just, cut down some of the reef out front and get in there and you're fine. And of course, one of the things that he mentioned was, don't even dare to think about it, because when you have a terrible hurricane and that protective reef is gone, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You can count West Bay in particular gone, and it's going to be inundated with water, and it would affect. But anyway, I've said that to say this, that he said that from many decades ago, generations actually, they felt that that was the best place for the dock. However, things change. There are reasons why certain things are changed. I know some time back they were talking about moving the airport further east, and then that, I guess, the cost and it's not as convenient for all of the visitors, which most are on that 7-mile beach stretch, and so on and so forth. And so that was somewhat prohibitive. But the thing is that when it was being built, I heard a number of people make a remark that, why are they building an airport like this? Why do we need this? Well, there was a simple answer that you don't build just for today. You build for the future. So if this is being built with, say, 50 years ahead in view, then I think it is a wise decision.
So you would be, you'd be supportive of the port where it's at with the proposal that's beforehand? Just want to make sure I don't misunderstand.
I will be supportive of it, and I'll tell you one of my main reasons.
Yes, ma'am.
I've heard a number of people speak of the dive sites and all that, which is out front.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, and many Caymanians know, that the dive site over there is not something we want to lose sight of. But some of those primary sites right in the Georgetown harbor have already been compromised because of years, decades of cruise ships anchoring and damaging the seabed and the reefs and so on. So that's there. You're looking at maybe hundreds of years if you move from that location before they would come back to their natural.
I know you had called in when Mr. Platt was on the other day, and he was sharing that in the Balboa and the Cali and there is that potential as well as the suspended sediment and the like.
What I will say to that, Sterling, is this: there is no location around Grand Cayman. If there's an alternative site, there's none that I know of which would eliminate a dive site or sites being negatively impacted. There are very few areas I know around this island that you could put a berthing or a harbor facility that would not affect some marine park or dive site. That's just a fact. If you looked at where the dive sites are located, you will see that it's almost unavoidable. What I'm saying about in Georgetown, there has to be some kind of expansion, not just for the cruise ships, but or even the cargo ships. As we continue to develop and continue to require more and more, incoming cargo, the thing is that there has to be some kind of expansion.
Ms. Daphne, do you know that the government, Ms. Daphne, do you know that the government's own report says that the cargo facilities are not going to hit maximum capacity for about 15, 20 years?
Repeat that, please.
The government's own report says that our cargo facilities are not going to hit maximum efficiency for about 15, 20 years.
Well, that's probably true. If that's what they're saying, that's probably true.
So there's no urgency to expand cargo either.
If the cruise berthing facility is something which needs to be expanded, it would seem that it makes good sense to do both simultaneously. The area where the cargo, 15 to 20 years, I think we need to look at the facility in the same light we looked at the airport. Build it so that you're looking at 50 years. And of course, I have read through several documents now. I haven't read that 600-page new document, but others that I have read. And it seems to me that the arrangement, which will not put the people of the Cayman Islands in any debt when up and leave, and we're left with the holding the bag and having to pay for something. But if this facility is going to be funded because the cruise ships are going to assist in the funding of building it, and then the repayment is based upon the fees that these ships would, or rather, that they have to pay, and those would be automatically be going to the Cayman Islands government and reducing the indebtedness, which I understand would be paid off probably in 25 years. But there are two things that were of real importance to me. One, the dock will be owned by the people of the Cayman Islands.
But we own it now, right?
Yeah, we own it
China
now.
Harbor or somebody else.
But we own it now, right, Ms. Daphne?
Operated by the Port Authority of the Cayman Islands. So those two features were very important to me.
But, Ms. Daphne, you're straying away from the real concerns, though. One, there's no compelling business case. Two, the environmental threats. Three, the threat to stay-over tourism. Those three things are really... And then four, there's the argument that the cruise ships are not going to come. The cruise lines have said, no, we'll come. And also the ships, number of megaships being produced over the next 10 years. They're producing significantly more smaller ships than megaships. You know, about, 12, 13, but I'd say let's give them 15%, even 15% of the ships in production or being produced over the next 10 years are going to be megaships. The rest are going to be smaller ships. So there's no impending doom. If we don't get megaships, we'll get smaller ships. And that's what people have to come to grips with, is that it's not a doomsday scenario. We're going to survive.
What I do know is that I have seen the letters which have were submitted by both of the two major cruise ship lines that operate or they visit Cayman on a weekly basis. And as you know, nowadays smaller ships are fine, but the shipping companies, of course, see where, say cargo ships, you can deliver 2 to 3 times as much cargo on one vessel as against using 3 or 4. Then, obviously, you would opt for the larger one. As far as the stay-over tourism is concerned, I know that this has been affected, but the other thing is, it's been affected in more than one way. For instance, much of the business that was generated by stay-over tourism in Georgetown proper, we know that the DART, the Cayman Bay, that development there has pulled a lot of that business into that area as well. And I can understand a stay-over tourist who would go into town and say, I don't want this. There are just too many people in the town. If the proper plans are in place for the revitalization of Georgetown and the facilities there to meet the demand, I, for one, understand that this is one of the two main pillars of our economy. And I'm sure that while you and I might not see eye to eye on many things, the financial industry is one, I wouldn't say it's fickle, but as you know, that there are many who would like to see Cayman get on a blacklist. We need to fight that with everything we have. But when it comes to the tourism product, I think we have a better chance of sustaining that. And if the cruise tourism is something which we rely on, and many of us do that right now, I think we need to look at it. Do we need something? What I can say is that while the report said that there would be some sediment, it did not say. It seemed that any damage which would be done by the sediment from the dredging is not something which would be greater than if you dredge in another location around the island. So if I looked at option 1, which would be to...
Here combine the breaks now. Next break is at 3 minutes though.
Site. Okay. Which is all probably would be a virgin site, Red Bay, I don't know, Spot, East End, I don't know. But it will require dredging, which means that you'll have Georgetown Harbor, which has already been damaged by the cruise ship anchors. And you will have the second site also damaged because of the dredging which of necessity.
But the argument of alternative sites doesn't even apply here because it's not even relevant because the government has decided it is going to do the piers in Georgetown Harbor. So we don't even need to argue about the alternative locations. What we have to look at, and I studied supply chain management when I did my master's, right? You're talking about cargo ships, larger cargo ships coming in here to service our ever-growing needs. But there's one fundamental flaw with that. The larger cargo ships take longer to fill up. They don't leave port until they're full. So we will have to then wait longer for a larger ship to get here with produce for us. And remember now, they're not only going to be servicing the Cayman Islands. They're going to be going elsewhere. Where are we going to be on that stop, on that journey, that cruise around to deliver whatever they're delivering? We don't know if we're going to be first or last. But the main point is that bigger is not necessarily better. We have smaller ships serving us with frequency. We get the stuff here quicker. We get it here fresher. And that would be better than to be waiting 2 weeks instead of 1 for a cargo ship to arrive with stuff that's already 2 weeks old. So bigger isn't necessarily better. It's about meeting the demand for the stuff on time. And within a reasonable time frame and cost and so on. But let's not say that the bigger cargo ships are going to be necessarily better. I think we may go through a period of suffering because what we're getting is late and probably not as fresh as what we get now. And we're sharing those bigger ships with other jurisdictions. So we have to be careful when we say the bigger ships are going to be better.
I wouldn't say they're better. I wouldn't say they're better. I'm just saying that companies, major companies, and you would be aware of this as well. When they can send a ship with 3 times the cargo instead of sending 3 ships to deliver the same amount, obviously they see that it is much more profitable for them. Larger ship.
Right.
Now, am I correct in all I'm saying? My own take on this, because believe me when I tell you that I am for preserving the environment, but we all are aware that Georgetown Harbor has already been compromised. Now, do I say we should compromise it more? Should we add more of a negative impact to it? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I would much prefer that we not move to any other site if it means other dredging. And if this can be done with because I understand that these piers are going to be built similar to what they have in Cayman Brac. And from what I understand, the flow of water...
I don't know where that came from.
Back and forth there is not causing any problem. In fact, it seems like the replenishing of the fish population seems to gravitate toward that particular area.
But here's the problem, right? When you dredge the Georgetown Harbor, you are going to open up the surface layer, right, of what's under there. That is then going to start to what you call bleed, and it's going to bleed forever. It is, and you're going to have to redredge because it's going to fill back up with sediment. You're going to have to redredge. But here's the problem: no one has demonstrated that the sediment that is created by that dredging, they're going to be able to contain that. And I've even seen in some of the reports where they talk about pumping that over the drop off. Pumping that over the drop-off might be fine until the next hurricane comes and it kick back up. On top of that, there's no guarantee that and all these consultants, all these experts say they're not guaranteeing anything they wrote in those reports. When that sediment is not contained and it drifts down towards Eden Rock and starts to choke coral and kill off the coral there, that can't be reversed. So that's another issue. But under severe weather conditions, that sediment is going to travel much further. The whole south coast can be under threat from the sediment, and there's nothing we can do to stop it once it gets out there. What I am arguing, and everybody else is arguing, is that nobody has been able to produce one report to say, you don't have to worry. Every report has said, well, we can't guarantee that this won't happen or that, and they're also downplaying, I think, the real threats. If you look at Eden Rock and Soto's Reef, where else in the Caribbean do you find dive sites that are within walking distance of the ship that you don't have to be a certified scuba diver to go and enjoy? That water is so shallow, you can actually snorkel out there and enjoy it, the same as someone with a dive tank on their back. There are no other sites like that in Cayman. So we're happy to threaten those and potentially destroy those, so that we can get a mega ship in here. And then the argument is that the mega ships are going to enhance our economy. We're going to make so much more money, when the business case doesn't demonstrate that. It's going to threaten stayover tourism, which is a bigger lick to our economy when we lose stayover visitors. All of that doesn't add up to a solid business case that I can support. And, while I respect you, that you have your position, Ms. Daphne, and other people have theirs, I have been tasked with the responsibility of doing what is best for this country for at least the next 2.5 years, whatever it is. And I then have to take my personal feelings out of it and apply the facts and look at the reality of the situation and try to make the best decisions for this country going forward. And my decision is that I cannot support this project the way this is being presented to this country. And I would encourage strongly the government to make every effort to sit down with the opposition, sit down with all those who have concerns, and see if we can compromise and move forward together in the best interest of this country. But where we're heading now is a government that will not listen, and people ordinary residents, not just the politicians, who have serious concerns about the future of this country and our environment and the future for our children. And I'm sorry, but I have to stand up and say I'm not going to support this project. There's no way that anybody can convince me to support this project with the information I have now and what has been presented. And I'm going to stick to that, and I hope that people are realizing what is happening. The government is moving forward with this with no consideration for the concerns of the majority of people who are looking at this project. Even those who support it, the government won't give them the opportunity to go and vote yes on a referendum. They're spending money before we even hit the number of signatures that it requires to trigger a referendum. They're spending money on a PR campaign that is filled with fallacies and false information, fake news, and it is unbecoming of a responsible government for them to operate this way, and it is disrespectful to the people who voted them into office. And I'm, I love you, Ms. Daphne, but I have to say that, I do not support what this government is doing to its people.
Thanks so much for that call, Mom. And this is good. Looking at the time and thinking, wow, you have another commitment.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to some of the things you wanted to. Maybe another time. I know the LA's session is not that far away.
It is right around the corner, the 14th. And I just got presented with an email yesterday with quite a few bills. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the things that we want to ask about.
It looks like about 20 bills. So,
is that 10s or 20s?
Well,
yeah, I just teased.
I know. I was going to make a comment, but I won't.
No, you hold on.
Some of them look probably could be the usual 1 or 2 amendments, but some of these are serious. The one that I'm really looking forward to reading, because I just got this yesterday, so I haven't read them yet. but we're the changes to the labor and immigration regime that the premier's promised are coming forward. So we're going to have some changes to some new laws and so on, changes to the immigration law. I want to see how all that fits with what the plan was, and make sure that I can support. As I said, I support the good things for this country. If the premier is coming with a solution now that is going to better serve Caymanians looking in employment, provide for the training needs, stamp out a lot of that discrimination against Caymanians, increase our the longevity of our middle class, because I'm really concerned about the effects of cheap labor and what that's doing to our middle class. When you look at almost 50% of our working population now earns less than $2,400 a month. That's a serious concern for me. So I'm going to have to sit down this weekend and read all these bills and be prepared on Tuesday to discuss it with the opposition members when we meet on Tuesday, and then be prepared to debate these heavily in the upcoming sitting. So it's a lot of work. Unfortunately, I'm understanding that we're only going to be in the legislature for 3 days again. So it's going to be another, I won't say marathon, it's going to be another very hard sprint to try to get all this done in time. I doubt that any opposition business will get done. We have private members' motions, we have questions. I don't see where any of that is going to be possible. But we'll soldier on. We were put here to do our jobs, and we're going to do them. And I really can't say that I'm pleased that all this is being crammed into such a short time frame, but that's the majority has to say, right?
So they say. So, well, maybe not. We'll see with the referendum, huh?
Yeah, let's see. Let's see.
And let's not do the amendment bill. I think that's important too. Some questions out there, but who knows? Maybe there'll be an amendment to that to say that that 150,000 may be the first 150 and not the total sum. Thanks for coming on, sir. Look, always a pleasure to have our MLAs in our studio.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next time. Hopefully it'll be less of a wait for me to get back to you. But thank you for having me, and I thank all the callers. Miss Daphne, is she called in. She gave her point of view. I hope I was respectful, or she thought I was being respectful in the way I answered her. But I also had to be very strong in my position because I'm the vocal minority in the House. So but.
Yes,
she and I will discuss that some more, and I'll see if I can convince her some of my viewpoints as well.
There you go.
But thank you for all the callers and all the people who are listening in, and I'll be on soon again. So if have questions, save them for me, and looking forward to it.
All right. With that, we'll pause and take a break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
It's almost that time of year for the Department of Environmental Health's annual bulk waste cleanup exercise. Residents are encouraged to put out their bulk waste items on the curbside where they can be accessed by DEH trucks but not block or obstruct traffic. The first bulk waste collection begins in North Side and East End on November 3rd through the 9th. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. 2 Florida schoolgirls have been arrested and accused of plotting to kill classmates in a satanic ritual. Police say the pair, 11 and 12, told officers they were Satan worshippers and planned to kill at least 15 students at Bartow Middle School. On Tuesday, they were searched by police who found weapons including a butcher's knife, pizza cutter and scissors. The Central European University in Budapest has threatened to move most of its teaching to Vienna if Hungary's government fails to remove legal obstacles to its academic freedom. Although Viktor Orban's government has targeted the CEU's liberal founder, George Soros, it insists it wants the US-registered university to stay. But sources say it has failed to honor a deal on the CEU continuing to issue American-accredited degrees. The CEU wants a response by December 1st. And human urine has been used to create environmentally friendly bricks by university students in South Africa. They combined urine with sand and bacteria in a process that allows the bricks to solidify at room temperature. Dylan Randall, their supervisor at the University of Cape Town, said it's essentially the same way that coral is made in the ocean. Regular bricks need to be baked in high-temperature kilns that produces large amounts of carbon dioxide. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Okay, settle down. There's someone I want to thank. This guy knows how to get the most out of every fill-up. This guy had the common sense to drive into Esso so I could get back on the road. $5,000 richer. Thanks to me. Thank you so much, me. Thank you. Yes.
Spend $25 at any Esso service station and get a chance to win in weekly draws for $5,000 cash. Every week for 5 weeks, we'll be choosing a winner. You can also get a chance to win free fuel and prizes at our weekly spin and win events. That's $30,000 in cash and prizes to be won. Drive into an Esso station today. You'll thank yourself. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Brand Source Home Gallery is celebrating 48 years serving Cayman with a 20% store-wide anniversary sale. Get 20% off everything for 2 days only, Friday and Saturday, October 26th and 27th. Choose from Cayman's largest range of kitchen and laundry appliances. Browse the huge mattress selection and save 40% off. Check out the Design Center and save 20% on your custom design kitchen, bathrooms, or closets. And browse the beautiful bath showroom for the most elegant and innovative bath products in Cayman. The Brand Source 20% off store-wide anniversary sale is Friday and Saturday, the 26th and 27th. Open until 6 p.m. both days. So hurry in now to Brand Source Home Gallery in Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Radio Cayman Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio featuring Will Sinatra.
Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, reggae, dancehall, Latin, soca, urban gospel, old school.
The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center.
Don't take chances with your family's future.
Cayman's cruise industry must be preserved and developed. It is a myth that the cruise lines will continue to call on Cayman at the rate they do now without the piers. It is a fact that the mega-class ships will not be tendered. Arrivals will decline by half over time as the older ships are decommissioned. This will hurt our economy and thousands of Caymanians who work in this industry. If we want to continue providing opportunities for Caymanians, we need the piers. Support the piers. Support our tourism.
Starting on Friday, a new Radio Cayman CI Retro series debuts. This new series will include a Talk Today feature, painting a word picture of our Cayman Islands' history, culture, and heritage, highlighting its importance to our existence, past, and our future. CI Retro Talk Today Friday at 12:15 p.m. on Radio Cayman. CI Retro Talk Today is being brought to you by Flowers Bottled Water, the cooler water. Have you had your 8 glasses today?
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And again, a special thanks to all of our sitting members of our Legislative Assembly. We just had the wonderful opportunity to speak with the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, MLA Alva Suku. So, as he shared, the House gets into session on the 14th, about 2 weeks-ish, for 3 days-ish, as he called it, a sprint, not necessarily a marathon. But in the studio joining me now is our colleague in our sales department, Mr. Raymond Singh. Upcoming Breeze Fusion, the annual walk run, next weekend.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us. Yes, sir. It's kind of honorable to follow.
Pull your mic in.
Sorry, sir.
Pull me hair. That's good. You look good, man.
I look good. Thank you. As long as I look good.
Even the red don't look
Doesn't
good.
matter if I don't sound good. As long as I look good.
No,
right?
you Apparently we made radio so you can look good, no sound good, no? But such is it, man.
No, again, thank you for letting us come in today to talk about it. But it is Breeze Fusion Walk Run next Saturday here in Grand Cayman. It's our annual charity event that Radio Cayman puts on now in its 11th year, which is, heading into 2 decades. So that's it's the start of 2 decades.
Yeah. It's a fun time. It's not just the actual venue and the route, but the people who participate and the way, it sort of unfolds. Start and finishing at Smith Barcadere?
Start, finish Smith Barcadere, you're absolutely right. You hit on a great point just now, and that is the location's great. You really can't beat a location like Smith Barcadere and that South Sound stretch. But the camaraderie and the community kind of nature of this event is one of the big drawing powers. We do get a lot of walkers that do come out, a lot of families with kids that do come out. And because, like I said, it's one big, fun community service run. I was talking to a client the other day in regards to coming on board Talk Today, and I mentioned that Talk Today, one of the big things about Talk Today is that it doesn't talk to any one demographic when it comes to age or gender. But what it does do is talk to an entire community, and that's one of the benefits like Radio Cayman and this particular event, the Breeze Fusion Run, is that it caters to a community feeling. You see it when you come out to the event.
And as you said, the representation of the participants. Of course, the sponsors and all the like cover many different facets of our businesses.
Absolutely.
The participants, the families, children, mother, father, extended family, but the different age and experiences of all who participate.
Absolutely. We get a complete range of the skills from the novice walkers who are just getting back out there and trying to break out into their fitness journey to very seasoned runners who are quite talented and compete in many of the 5 and 10K events on island and marathon events.
And the route itself, that morning you get up and you find no more directions, you head north and then you go east and then you go south and then you come back west and then you come back north. Sort of a nice little loop.
It's an awkward rectangle, right? It heads up to Melmac and then from Smith Barcadere and from there up to Walkers back down to South Sound, and then across back to Smith Barcadere. So kind of an awkward rectangle. My geometry lessons are a little outdated, so I can't remember what shape that is exactly.
So is it an octangle, an awkward rectangle? Octangle?
I think that's 8. That's 8 sides. I think we're only on 5 sides. Penta shape?
No, we're not going there.
No, but it's so like I said, that's the great news we got back from Cayman Brac yesterday. It's our 3rd year taking the event to Cayman Brac. So we were there yesterday doing a pre-registration, and I will say this, every time I go to Cayman Brac, I have a fantastic time. Yesterday was no different. Miss Paulette and I were over there doing a registration at the Cayman National Bank over in the Brac, along with Star Island and at District Administration. And the hospitality of the folks in the Brac it's just, you can't, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just unique. It's great.
It is, man. And she brought me back some coconut bread, and I thought, man, Miss P just thinks about everybody.
She does, absolutely.
I didn't get to go, but I got the benefits of the journey.
The bakery definitely is one of those signature places that's a frequent stop whenever we
it has to be
head over. It's kind of, you have to. It should be in a tourist manual. I'm not sure why I have not seen it in any of our tourism highlights, but the bakery in the Brac probably should be on there.
All right. Ray,
yes.
My colleague Fox tells us there's a caller online. Let's go to the phones, and this could be that lunch order that you're missing.
It could be. Hopefully I'm not getting yelled at right now.
That may be it too. Hey, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Afternoon. Been a while, man. How are you?
Good afternoon to you, guys. Is Albert still on, or he's off?
No, Mr. Suku was only with us until 2 o'clock, and I'm talking to our colleague in our sales department, Raymond Singh, as we're talking about the upcoming Breeze Fusion next weekend.
Okay, well, it's a different topic. So
man. But I hope you come out with your family. Yeah. So tomorrow then.
Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks. Really, you've been here. You know what it's like, man. But that Breeze Fusion, we're on the Brac. Really, come on. We're there as part of our community, and to be able to be welcome and include the Brac now in the Fusion, it's just another part of who we are.
It is. I mean, Radio Cayman caters to all 3 of our islands, and it's unique as far as radio stations go in that regard. There's a few other that do cater to it. But 3 years ago, we looked at the Breeze events and try to figure out how best we can incorporate Cayman Brac into more of our activities that we do here. Because we do the agriculture show, that's there every year. We do a number of church services there every year. And Breeze was the likely choice for how we can incorporate the Brac into more of our community service initiatives.
Right.
And so every year we've tried to raise money. The Breeze Fusion event itself is a charity event, and every year the NCVO is our signature charity, and we tend to tack on an additional charity. So this year for Grand Cayman, that community group is the John Gray High School Music Group, who we had on Talk Today a few months back. And then next Tuesday.
Thanks for giving our listeners a preview. So next Tuesday, sort of to celebrate why we support, but to show, where our support actually directly, materially benefits our community. Students from the John Gray Music Group are going to be in the studio like they did previously with their talent and their instruments and entertaining us.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing them perform again in the studio. And they'll be actually at the event itself on next Saturday, on November 3rd, playing for our participants down at the beach. That's going to be a fantastic little atmosphere down there post-race. So when everyone comes back in, they'll be performing for the awards ceremony completes. And I do want to give a shout out again to the John Gray High School team. They've been very, very fun to work with so far on the planning stages of everything, and it should be fun. And then in Cayman Brac, the charity group this year over there will be the So-and-So Club.
Which is nice. I like to play on the words.
Yeah, exactly. It's a unique
So-and-so.
Yeah, we write commercials and always try to play on words, and that's a fantastic little name there. It's great.
Yeah. But that shows you what the Breeze Fusion has been able to do. Some events may support one thing, or we have the signature event at the NCVO and NCVO in and of itself. That is an umbrella that supports many things that crosses many facets of our society. But then we bring two more on board, one in the Brac and one here in Grand Cayman.
Absolutely.
And
I like how these charities cover the age range of these charities, from youth groups to programs helping senior citizens. There's a lot of we cover the entire cross section of Cayman,
which speaks to what Radio Cayman is, because we have to deliver across the whole spectrum.
Absolutely.
And as you talk about the audience of Talk Today, it can be unnerving at times when you realize that that very informed elderly grandmother to that very ambitious granddaughter who has great aspirations, to the business lady in between, to that entrepreneur who is expanding or considering a new venture. We cover all facets.
You're absolutely right. I mean, there's Radio Cayman itself covers a diverse range, but there's I tend to joke sometimes that if you just drop the seed on Talk Today, you will cover Cayman very, very quickly. People talk about the social media and all the other elements. I say none of that can compare to what Talk Today can generate with a small little seed being dropped.
Well, it's a great responsibility, and I think this is where, as we look forward, move on, I think as we leverage this platform, I think it's time for a newer, younger, maybe much more upwardly mobile head to take over, man. What do you think?
I don't know. I think the hot seat over there has, you've printed your body into that seat.
It's not hot at all.
Your elbow fits well in the table here.
Jar word for me.
But no, I mean, Talk Today is like great. That's why we come on the show every year to talk about Breeze. And
well, I'm hoping that the wider public would continue to be supportive of the Breeze Fusion. Specifically, not just register and allow us to share your contribution with the wider community, in particular the three charities that we mentioned, but come and physically participate, be a part of the prize giving, listen to the John Gray Music Group perform, and to see the talent that's there.
Absolutely.
And in that, start to recognize as a community, we need to do more of what we probably reluctant at first, required to do. Our parents would take us out visiting. They would physically drag us around the neighborhood. Those who had cars would drive the family and friends. We don't visit in person as much as we probably should or used to, right? Or could. But this would be another way. I say that because I remember one year, individuals who perhaps recognized that their work schedules and lives were a bit, sort of out of sync. And they had agreed to meet, on that Saturday morning. They were going to exercise together, walk and talk, and then go. And I know that because afterwards they chatted and said this was something that they wanted to do. They had done it before, one year, one the other, but never together. Yeah. And just walking around that little track, so to speak, that little loop, they were able to reconnect for that, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it took them to walk that path. I think they exaggerate. I think they took more than an hour, but I'm not going to be saying that loud in public.
No, I wouldn't encourage you to say that.
No, I won't.
You'll say loud on the radio, but not.
Yeah, there you go. And I know these two individuals, and they've reminded me of that. Even that was, a few years ago. Because of that connection that day, that deliberate planning of their schedules, they've been able to reconnect. Right? Afterwards, they were down by the iron shore, just having a chat, and so on. Now, these are two good friends who were classmates and who live and work, buildings next to each other, so to speak, and yet don't necessarily see each other, but can connect on, social media. But they've lacked that physical time together, right? And it's good to have seen that. Now, could this mean the same for somebody else who comes out? You never know.
Never know. It is a bonding event, whether it's with your friends, like you mentioned, or families, parents. We've had situations, we've had 3 generations out there, from grandchild to parent to grandparent, all participate at the same time. We had family last year, I believe 12 different members of the family who come together and come out. We had a great picture of them last year at the post at the finish line at the end of it, all posing together. And it's at the end of the day, not that it should be the sole purpose, but I mean, this is a fitness element as well. And it's a fun way to spend a Saturday morning. So for those people that are concerned about losing their Saturdays in the process, the good news is that it starts at 6:30 in the morning, and and it's beautiful. 6:30 in the morning at Swiss Cove is a gorgeous setting.
Yeah,
it's tough to beat that view, but it's a fun little.
And it's something
event.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word surreal, but what comes to mind? You're there, right? So the sun, if you're facing the water, the sun will sort of be behind you as it comes up. If you get there early enough, and the sun just starts to make its way, it almost looks like a sunrise in a sense.
Absolutely.
Because of how it is cast on the water. Yeah. No, it's not a sunrise. My brother turned me around and said, nope, sunrise is in the east and sets in the west. You're looking west.
Yeah.
So I know that now.
If you get there when we are actually there in the morning setting up and planning, we get to see the moon shining. I remember last year we had the full moon shining, and then from full moon to sunrise, a beautiful sunrise, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day.
It is one. Very surreal almost, huh?
Well, I see we're getting a little short on time here, so let's give a bit of information on the core of the events.
Okay. You want to take a break? Yeah. See, you guys in sales do such a phenomenal job that we can advertise this, right? So let's take that break.
Yep.
Come back and tell us about the core events.
Fantastic.
And maybe we could do this. Maybe Talk Today can sponsor. I'll pay for it. Someone who calls and wants to register, I'll pay for the registration. Let's do that.
Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Advance Automotive Chevrolet is celebrating their 10th birthday by giving away $10,000 to one lucky person who buys a brand new Chevrolet. Not buying a new car this year? Well then, why not be one of 10 people who could win free gas for a year? Book any service with Advance Automotive before December 19th to enter. And remember, Advance Automotive can service any make of vehicle so everyone can enter. Visit AdvanceChevrolet.com for more details or call 945-9191 to book your service today. Terms and conditions apply.
CUC advises motorists that in an effort to alert approaching drivers of speed restrictions when entering an area of road where CUC vehicles and personnel are present, the company will be deploying rumble strips. These rumble strips are a series of raised transverse rubber strips laid across the road which changes the noise a vehicle's tires make on the surface and so warning drivers of speed restrictions. On approaching CUC's work zones, motorists will observe bright orange road signs signifying rumble strips ahead. Before entering these work zones, motorists will encounter the rumble strips that are encouraged to drive with extreme caution at slow speeds until they are well clear of the work zones. These rumble strips are essential to safeguarding against potential danger to CUC personnel. If you have any questions regarding the use of rumble strips, please contact our customer service team at 949-5200 or via email at service@cuc.ky.
Caymankind is the Cayman experience.
We work at the Cayman Craft Market.
It is a myth that we do not need the cruise ship industry.
It is a fact that when there are no ships in port, we do not earn a living. We depend on the cruise industry, and if it was to reduce by half, many others just like us would suffer immensely. We want to work and provide for our families.
We need the pier.
Support the piers. Support our tourism.
The 2018 Fall Labor Force Survey is currently being conducted by the Economics and Statistics Office ESO. The LFS collects data on the employed and unemployed persons. Trained interviewers with ESO ID cards will visit the randomly selected households in all districts. The interviews are confidential in accordance with the statistics law. No individual data will be published or disclosed. Survey data are exempt from freedom of information. For more details, please call the ESO hotline at 516-3329.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-TALK. As you have a few more minutes to talk with our colleague, Mr. Raymond Singh, one of our account reps in our sales department.
Yes, sir.
All right, Breeze Fusion. You would tell us about the core sort of.
Well, some of the core deals. And first and foremost, we do have to extend our appreciation to the sponsors that have supported the event. Because without these sponsors, we can't put on this event. We can't raise the funds that we want to for the various charities. And so we have our title sponsor, Yellow. Second year they come on board as the title sponsor for the Breeze Fusion event. Cayman National Bank, Reflections, Seaboard Marine, Roma United, and most recently come on board is Fine Print, doing all the graphic design and print material for the event, banners, etc. So big shout out to those 6 sponsors again for their support. But that's not the only sponsors that have come on board for this event. Those are our corporate sponsors that have supported the event. We've had individual members, including most recently the gentleman that just left the studio, Mr. Alpha Saku, who was the first MLA to come on board and sponsor children for the event. He sponsored 10 students for Savannah Primary. The Honorable Deputy Premier, Minister Kirkconnell, has sponsored 50 students from Cayman Brac. So that means any students in Cayman Brac, the first 50 rather, that would like to participate in the event, their registration fee has been covered under his sponsorship. Mr. Ezra Miller has sponsored 10 students from Edna Moyle Primary. Mr. Kenneth Bryan has sponsored 10 students from Georgetown Primary. And Mr. Jeremy Rice has annually sponsored students from Georgetown Primary as well. And he has come on board again to sponsor 5 students this year from Georgetown Primary. So if you're at any of those schools, the schools in Cayman Brac, Edna Moyle Primary, Savannah Primary, or Georgetown Primary, and you want your child or your grandchild to participate in the event next weekend, please do contact your school principal. They are all aware of the sponsorship, and it is on a first-come, first-served basis for those schools. So you have to call the school and register as soon as possible.
And that class or those sort of group of students coming together, and they see each other during the week. Maybe they're classmates, maybe they participate in some particular sport within the school. Yeah. But this is an event outside of school, but still school sanctioned.
Absolutely.
And it does something for those students. And that's bond, that camaraderie.
Absolutely. We had a great photo last year.
Yeah.
Of the Savannah Primary kids at the finish line. It was one of the few schools we were able to get together at the finish line, whereas everyone kind of finishes at different times. This particular school, we were just able to, thanks to Miss Tasha, over at GAB, was able to, she's a parent at Savannah Primary, she was able to gather the kids and get that photo for us. But yeah.
And it speaks of teamwork and organization, right? And the importance, that thing is going to become something when those students are 50 years hence, when they may be looking at, a reunion of sorts. It will be more important tomorrow as it was, last year, but in decades to come, posterity. Little things that matter, And I say that now, people going, gee, how old he is? No, you start to appreciate, these things when you look at it through the eyes of, the historian, as it were.
Of course.
And the participation, the sponsorship, as you shared, of whether the individual or the corporate entity, it makes a difference, and it has a lasting, impact, a positive one.
You're absolutely correct. It does. It does, and so if you are interested in registering for the event in Grand Cayman, it is next Saturday, November 3rd. At Smith's Park Adair. We do encourage you to register before the event, although we will have a table set up at the event. We strongly encourage you not to come the morning of and register, only because it does become a little chaotic. So please do take a few moments to either go online to caymanactive.com /breathe, or stop by our Radio Cayman studio, say hi to us. You can sign up at the same time. The first 300 people who sign up do get a participation medal and T-shirt, and we have goodie bags for all the participants as well that do participate. The event starts at 6:30 in the morning next Saturday for walkers and 6:45 for runners. And as I said, it's at beautiful Smith's Park Adair. So it's do get there early. If you are signed up, please do get there early. Parking can be a little tough. If you imagine 300 people showing up at pretty much the exact same time at Spark Adair could be a little congested.
But it's fun.
But we do have plenty of people who have come aboard to support the event, as well as far as the volunteers. The RCIPS will be on hand, providing the security measures. We have the Red Cross on hand for in the rare event that anything should happen. Safety is one of our prime concerns with the event. The Lions Club, who have volunteered volunteers to come out and support with assisting with just logistics and water stops. And not to mention our entire Radio Cayman staff will be out there as well. So this is a Radio Cayman event. Although it is the Breeze Fusion 5K walk run, all of our staff are on hand, and you can meet all of us at the same time. And if you are one of those number one Radio Cayman listeners, I know I've met about 50 number one fans of Radio Cayman. I encourage you to, again, come on out next Saturday. And if you're in the BRAC, if you don't already know, we'll be back there again November 24th. And that run takes place at Southside Public Beach to Foster's Corner and back. And we'll be doing registrations the day before as well. And stay tuned for more information on that.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad that you and the team have continued. It's a lot of work in addition to all of the things. And all of this is part of our community effort and our spirit and to support our charities.
Absolutely.
So, for those who are listening, you had a preview Tuesday during the talk today, first hour and a half and thereabouts, to hear the John Gray music group perform.
Please, yes.
They're going to be one of the groups we're going to be supporting this time around again.
Absolutely.
And
I will say that I hear a lot of conversations about education and the hot topic of education. And when we talk about the end of the day, it's those who put out that comment should also be inclined to put out that effort outside of just the talk. And these are the beneficiaries of these programs are youth groups,
right?
And a school-sanctioned program for music. Such an important program within any school. So please do come out and support them.
Indeed, and we invite you to share. It's a small registration fee. It's a wonderful.
Absolutely. It's only $20 to register. Only $20, and it covers everything in the process.
All right. Hey, thanks very much, Ray.
Sterling Dwayne, thank you so much for having us on the show.
Chance to chat with you again. You guys do a great job. And to our listeners, Breeze Fusion is next Saturday, but get registered. Hopefully you can make it, but sponsor. And if you want to sponsor even more, go right ahead. That money is going to be used for a wonderful cause across the entire country.
Absolutely. If you want to sponsor any more students from other schools, please do let us know. If you can't come out yourself or you still want to donate or sponsor other students, please do let us know. We'll make sure that we get students signed up to participate in the event.
Right. And you can have a full accounting of where that money goes. So
absolutely.
Not a problem with that.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Hey, thanks very much, Ray.
Still enjoying it. Thank you so much.
All right, to our listeners, come back tomorrow for the record with Mr. Art Connor, and then join me for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Mr. Loxley Ebanks will be able to facilitate our discussion as we do a little partnership with CI Retro and Talk Today. Until then, be blessed.